Hello, I'm Wednesday Walton with Wednesday on Wednesdays, your weekly sports recap on everything Idaho athletics. This past week was a wild and exciting one for the University of Idaho sports teams. And I have Olivia Baggerly here with me today to help talk about everything that happened, starting with the women's swim and dive team who were in Houston, Texas for the WAC championships.
Thanks, Wednesday. The women's swim and dive team had an impressive championship weekend. They brought home a new school record, placing third in the 800-meter freestyle relay with a time of 7 minutes, 21.49 seconds. Day 2 brought 2 more new school records for the Vandals, with Leah Fisk in the 500 meters and Clotilde Pousseau in the 100-meter breaststroke. This time also put Pousseau into the NCAA championships. The Vandals placed third the entire weekend, right behind Northern Arizona and New Mexico State.
Idaho Track and Field was also at their Big Sky Conference Championships in Pocatello, Idaho to wrap up the indoor season. And the freshmen are the ones who really stunned the crowds. Ben Doucette dominated with a 7.96 win in the 60-meter hurdles. He's the first Big Sky athlete to do this since 2015. Rochelle Mead was also a stunner for Idaho as she took third in the high jump as well as the long jump. She also walked away with Freshman of the Year. AC Carroll and Adara Winder were also top 3 finishers as AC finished third in the long jump and Adara took third in the shot put.
And Wednesday, you mentioned last week that the men and women's tennis team were on a huge Big Sky streak with a ton of momentum, and I can tell you this past weekend was no different for them. The men's team beat North Dakota 7-0, putting them 3-0 in conference, and the women's team also defeated North Dakota 6-1, putting them 4-0 in conference play. But unfortunately, the women lost in the Battle of the Palouse 5-2 against Washington State.
Thanks, Olivia. The men's and women's basketball teams are in their final weekend of conference play, trying to earn a first-round bye before heading into Reno, Nevada next week for the Big Sky Conference basketball tournament. The women's team were on the road taking on Idaho State and Weber State, and it didn't go as well as they wanted. Idaho State defeated the Vandals on Thursday.
Finish line. Riley on the wing, crosses to Wilson.
The Bengals put up a season-high 80 points compared to the Vandals' 69, who also had their 5th straight road loss in Pocatello. Idaho held strong the first 3 quarters, never letting the game get more than 4 points away from them. But by the end of the third, the Bengals proved to be unstoppable, despite 3 Vandals scoring in the double digits. Saturday's game against Weber State was a much-needed turnaround for Idaho, as they defeated them 82-77 late in the game. It was a tight game from start to finish with 14 lead changes, 6 of which happened in the second quarter alone. Sophomore Michaela Ferenz had another outstanding performance with 32 points to help bring Idaho home the victory. The women's team is back here in Cowan Spectrum starting today at 6 p.m. against Northern Arizona and then Friday against Southern Utah for their senior night. The men's team had 2 very important wins this weekend back at home to finish up their homestand for the season. First was against Idaho State University on Thursday. The first 15 minutes of the game against the Bengals were nearly scoreless for the Vandals, only making 1 3-pointer. The Bengals capitalized with a 7-0 run, but Idaho picked up pace and closed the first half 30-22. Victor Sanders had back-to-back-to-back 3-pointers, a momentum that the Bengals could not fight against, and Idaho walked away with the 69-61 win. Saturday night was just as glorious for the Vandals as they had senior night against Weber State University. Their last meeting with the Wildcats, Idaho fell 91-66, but Saturday's game was much different and much more exciting. Idaho led by as many as 12 points in the first half and held that lead for a majority of the second half as well. But the last 35 seconds were intense. The game came down to free throws and fouls, and after Weber State made 2 crucial free throws in the last 0.1 seconds, the game was brought into overtime. Overtime ultimately came down to who could rebound better and who could shoot best from the free throw line, and junior Arkady McCurchin had the game-solidifying baskets for the Vandals to bring down the Wildcats 83-78. Freshman Trayvon Allen also had an awesome night, hitting a career high of 25 points. To note, Victor Sanders was not playing for Idaho as he was out with a minor injury. The men's team plays Northern Arizona and Southern Utah University this Thursday and Saturday on the road to wrap up conference play. The men are currently ranked 4th in the conference, tied with Montana State, and need to win both games this weekend to make sure they get that first round bye going into next week's Big Sky basketball tournament in Reno. The women's team, on the other hand, is currently tied for 5th place against Idaho State, and they need to be top 4 to earn a bye. Basically, they need to win both games this weekend, Idaho State to lose, and some top-ranked teams to lose as well. It's a lot of information and a lot of questions on who's going to play when and who's going to be ranked what. So make sure to follow me on Twitter at WW_reporting this weekend to make sure that you know who's ranked what and who's going to play when. As for the show next week, I'll be down in Reno reporting from the basketball games for the tournament. I'll be giving you live updates, coaches' interviews, as well as Twitter feeds and nightly recaps of all the games. So I'll see you next week in Reno, Nevada. Thanks for watching Wednesday on Wednesdays.